Absolutely. And about the bringing to market the first ever false light for people with cancer. Yeah, this is something that was part of my own journey. It was something I created out of adversity. And about the dyslexia, it's funny that, you know, it's like I'm discovering. I think I have known and I've followed you my whole life from Zimbabwe, and I didn't realize you're dyslexic. But for me, I only found out when I was in uni, actually, because from a young age, I was always bottom of my class. And at that time, there was so much emphasis on academia. And if you weren't good, you were just considered lawful, somebody who was not very bright. And I grew up with this knowledge of knowing that I wasn't very bright. And it was quite sad because for me, I used to love a show called Carson's Law. And it really absolutely made me fall in love with.
I love Carson's Law too. So we have a number of things in common, Cody.
Yeah.
Right. So you love the show.
I wanted to be Marjorie Carson, and that was my thing. So yeah, I really wanted to be a lawyer, but obviously I knew that, you know, I could never be, because my parents didn't have money to send me to, you know, fancy schools or extra lessons or anything like that. And knowing my academic limitations, I just knew. But then that dream never left me, because, you know, it's like, you know, when you're a kid, you say, what do you want to be? And people say, I want to be a lawyer. And then maybe 2 years later, I want to be a pilot. For me, it was always, I wanted to be a lawyer.
It was always you wanted to be a lawyer. Tell me, in what effect did being dyslexic manifest itself as far as you're concerned?
I could never get spelling right. You know, it's like I would change the whole sentence because I couldn't spell a certain word. I just would never quite remember things that other people would get quite easily. For me, it would take me ages. And it's even though I used to have conversation with me, my dad used to say that when I have a conversation with you, you're clearly very bright. But when it came to putting things on paper, they just looked back to front, and it took me ages to articulate in writing what I wanted to say. In my head, it was very clear. But when it came to writing and just remembering things, it was just really, really difficult. So yeah, and I never did associate that with dyslexia. I just thought I wasn't a bright kid. That's it.
That I can identify with that, Cody. I got beaten up quite a lot by my teachers, grade 1, 2, 3, because they thought I was dull, I was lazy, I had problems with comprehension, I had problems with spelling. I didn't understand how people could put B-O-Y and say it's boy. It never made any sense to me. So I completely, identify with what you're saying, Cody.
Yeah, and it's weird, because at a time when you get a diagnosis, when somebody tells you there is something wrong with you, it's instead of being scared because somebody has told you something is wrong, it's such a relief, because now you know why your whole life you have struggled with things like everybody else.
Yeah.
But then again, I always say my dyslexia has been my superpower, because I think, like me, you see the world differently from anybody else. You see solutions where other people see problems.
Yeah.
And for me, it has been the thing that has been my biggest. I would never give up my dyslexia for anything. It's really saved me. I see the world in a very different and interesting way.